world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen.
Then with a crash came a great ringing shout, Ra, Ra.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road is gone, and I must follow it if I can.
Hear that, Ben? That's the clouds bursting and talking about Tolkien.
Have you ever been in a cloud burst?
Let's say yeah. You can't prove that I haven't.
No. You don't know what sound it makes.
I'm pretty sure it's
it is chapter. I can read Roman numerals 17.
Can you? 17. You're right.
Hobbit. It's chapter 17 of the Hobbit. Clouds burst, and things are finally about to kick off.
Yeah.
They have the Arkenstone. The dwarves are on their way, and Thorin is about to find out that someone, perhaps a burglar he knows, has robbed him.
Yeah. How dare he? They want to parlay, and Thorin his first thought is like, perfect. Dane is here. And they realize that he's here, and they realize that they're gonna have to fight some dwarves. A hilarious sentence, I'm sure. So they've come to parlay for better terms. The previous terms being go away, and I'll give you, some compensation for like the lodging and the ponies or whatever. They show up, and he's like, why is the Elf King still there? And then they're like, well, funny you should mention that. Because, in fact, we want to trade. And they pull out the Arkenstone. And he's like, how did you get that? What? Bomber is, he's slowly, he's inching out of the room after Bilbo's like, yeah, that was me. I did it last night on watch.
See, I like to imagine Bomber's just cackling. Like, he pulls out the Arkenstone, and Bomber's just like, you should see your fucking face, Thorin. You're so mad. Oh, this is the best day of Bomber's life.
Yeah, but he didn't do that. Because Bomber's a craven coward, and everyone's afraid of Thorin, who's about to throw Bilbo off the wall, presumably to his death. And Gandalf is like, oh, nope, I'm here too.
Thorin, yeah, so they ask how Bard got the Arkenstone. It comes out.
Bilbo, he outs himself. He's like, well, you said I could have any of the treasure, and that was my half, or my share. My 14th share was the Arkenstone, and I decided to give it to them, and now you guys can, like, barter like reasonable adults, and they can get their pay, and we can all go home happy. No one has to... Why are you holding me? Nope, don't throw me over the wall. Don't throw me over the wall, bro.
Thorin goes absolutely nuts. He grabs Bilbo. He's going to throw him over the wall, and he's like, I wish I had that Gandalf here too. I curse him for even bringing you, blah, 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 blah. And then Gandalf shows up.
He dramatically throws his cloak off. And he's like, it is I.
Yeah. The mysterious, much like Odin. It's just a guy. It's an old man with a long beard.
Who could it be?
Who we offended a while ago, and now he's ready to kill us. But yeah, Gandalf shows up, and he's I love the shade Gandalf throws at Thorin, because Thorin is now, you got to picture the scene, and I will say the movie actually did a good job with this. Of Thorin is totally insane now. He's getting ready to throw the person he just spent every day of the last year with over the battlements for a stone that wasn't really, like, he's going to get back anyway. All he has to do is pay the guy what he promised him. But because he didn't do it the way Thorin wanted, he's going to literally murder like one of his best friends. And Gandalf is just sitting there watching all this, and he says this exact line. You're not making a very splendid king under the mountain. It's like, I don't think this is going very well, Thorin. You're kind of looking like a douche.
Yeah? Well, maybe I should just imprison the Elf King and 12 of his friends for being on my mountain. Would that make me a good king in your estimation, Gandalf?
If you could do that, like if you were in a position to do that, you would be a better king. Yeah.
Okay,
You're the
well.
king of 12 people and you're threatening to kill one of them.
All right. So here's the plan. I'll let Bilbo go, and come back tomorrow. I'll have your share in exchange for the Arkenstone. I'm definitely not planning on betraying you or double crossing you. That would be ridiculous. See you tomorrow morning. Also, Bilbo, we're not friends anymore. Fuck you. We're never going to be friends again. I hate you. I cursed your name. I cursed your family's name. Wish I never met you, even though you kept saving our asses consistently the entire time, and we would have died long, long ago before we even got here without you. But really, fuck you. Go. Out of here.
Yeah, and Bilbo's like, okay, well, maybe when you calm down, we can all be friends again. And he's like, I will literally shoot you.
I will never calm down. I plan on
That
being
is kind
angry
of
the rest of my life.
That is kind of where he's at. Yeah. And so they're going to give him till tomorrow to give up part of the horde. But that is when Dane shows up. He's got word that Dane's going to be coming.
Yeah,
So he knows
that's the
that
next
they can.
day, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
They marched through
So the
the
next
night.
day when they're scheduled to be turning over the money, that's when Dane is going to be there, so he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, perfect.
But oaths and breaking, this is a point where like Thorin has crossed a line. Now that he's going to use Dane's army as an excuse to not pay the 14th share that is owed to Bilbo, that's an oath break.
He had his fingers crossed behind his back, Ben.
Bad things happen when you do an oath break.
I'm sure nothing bad will
You
happen.
can cross your fingers behind your back as long as you don't sign a written contract, which is what he did, and Bilbo has a copy.
Yeah, but he only said that Bilbo got to pick his share. He never had a written part where Bilbo got to pick his share. So, like, you know, fuck you, Bilbo. The dwarves are like, hey, what are you guys doing here? We're just going into that mountain, and you're not going to stop us, are you? And so the men and the elves are like, no, we're going to stop you. And it looks like we're going to have a battle of 3 armies. And it will be a battle between, like no one's just like pure evil in this battle, like we really need someone who we can kill without feeling bad. And thank God, out comes 2 more armies that we don't have to feel bad about if we slaughter them down to the last man. Out from the north, from some place whose name I forgot to write down, but hopefully you have it, there's just a shitload of bats in the sky, blotting out the sun, and beneath those bats is just like the largest gathering of goblins and wargs you have ever seen.
Well, and one of those goblins is Bolg. Bolg from Moria. You remember him?
Yeah. He's the son of Azog?
Azog.
Yeah. Does Bolg have a mechanical hand?
No, that was Azog.
Well, I mean, I knew that from the movies, but I was just really hoping then. Maybe you could have a mechanical peg leg.
Bolg is ugly in the movies. I mean, they're all ugly, but like Bolg, oof.
Oh, I didn't even realize he was in the movie.
Yeah, no, he's there. You better believe he's there. There's a whole orc subplot. Bolg's in I think he's in the last 2.
I couldn't care less. I didn't see the last 2. I only saw the first one, and I was like, "This isn't for me."
Yeah.
So
yeah, Bolg's there. The wargs are there. The goblins are there.
Yeah, the elves, the men, the dwarves. They all look at each other, and they're like, "So you guys also hate goblins too, right?" We're like, "Yeah, I fucking hate them. They're the worst." All right. How about we just team up? Instead of killing each other, we kill them. Like, there's a lot more of them, and also, Ben says that they have souls, but I don't know if they actually have souls. So, it's all right if we slaughter them.
Yeah, I maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll do like I think we'll have to get into this more like when we get into Lord of the Rings, but like Tolkien definitely created the orcs to be like demons that you could just kill without mercy. And that is like the biggest criticism of Tolkien's writing is that it doesn't deal with like real evil. It deals with that like made up Catholic evil of like, oh, it's not that complicated interpersonal relationships and human motivations and cycles of trauma cause weird conflicts that none of us really want to be in, but we can't avoid. It's Satan. He did it.
Yeah.
Get him. But I think even Tolkien sort of came to the conclusion that they had souls, and that kind of would have undermined everything, and he froze. And that's why the Silmarillion is published by Christopher Tolkien.
Well, where do their souls go when they die, Ben? Probably to Orc Hell. All right.
The Halls of Mandos, I would imagine.
I don't know what that is. I assume that's Orc Hell. Anyway, so the battle commences. Bilbo puts on his ring and hides with the Elf King and Gandalf and some other people, and he watches it all. So the goblins make it to Dale. The men have some guys there to basically just slow down the vanguard long enough to get everyone into position and funnel the the goblins, because they're goblins right now, Ben. They're not orcs. You say they're the same thing. He says goblins. So goblins and
It's
wargs,
interchangeable. Don't trust Peter Jackson.
goblins and wargs, they go through like the arms of the mountain or valleys in the mountain, whatever. They get funneled into killing zones, Ben. But as they start to win, I guess the goblins scaled the mountain on another side and came down from the top. Am I reading this
I
right?
think they scaled the.
I don't know anything about mountain warfare, so I assume Tolkien knows what he's talking about. I was just like, okay, yeah, they climbed the mountain. Why not?
So I think what happens is goblins they did scale the mountain from the other side. They're on the slopes and they're coming down. I think they're coming down both like with a charge, and they also presumably have like arrows and rocks that they can rain down. So basically, they're on the mountain, like all the paths and passes that Bilbo and Thorin and all those guys were searching before. Like the goblins have taken them,
They're
and
hitting from every single possible angle.
so as you know, and I'll put in the stupid thing.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
They had the high ground, and that's they rolled with advantage, and that means it's just hit after hit for the goblins.
Yeah, the goblins are starting to win now. But then everyone had forgotten, bursting out of the gates, out comes Thorin and his company, full on armored up. They got weapons. They're not just a bunch of losers who had no plan to kill a dragon anymore. These are armored and armed dwarves ready to murder some goblins. And so they do. They just go to work, slaughtering left, right, and center. And then they're surrounded eventually. They come up against the bodyguard of Bolg, and they do not penetrate in and take him out. Then they're surrounded. So that's unfortunate. The mighty charge didn't work out for him. And Bilbo is like, oh, crap. We're all going to be carried away as slaves at best, or slaughtered down to the last. Oh.
Not all of us. Gandalf cocks a gun.
Gandalf is...
Got 2 bullets in this thing. You shoot me, and then I'll shoot you.
He's readying some sort of magic. And Bilbo's like, wait a minute. The eagles! The eagles are...
And then Bilbo is smacked by a stray goblin club and spends the rest of the battle unconscious. Also, he was invisible at that time, so nobody knew who was shouting about the eagles.
Or who had just hit the ground. What was that like really disgusting thud? It sounded like a body just slamming into the ground.
This one goblin just pulls away his club with like a piece of skull on it, and he's like, I don't know what I hit, but yeah, it's and that's how Bilbo spends the rest of the battle. The eagles are coming, so they might be saved. Yeah. Now, the one thing I wanted to talk about, there's not a lot of huge lore in this. There are tons of battles in the Norse sagas I could compare this to, but I think this one is pretty unique to this scenery and the characters and races and armies that are in this. There's a line in here about how the elves charge like first and hardest because their hatred of the goblins is like fierce and ancient, and I think a lot has been made of that, especially in D&D. Like
Yeah.
that's a line, that notion that elves especially hate orcs. That's just a whole plot line in D&D, and I think it originates in that one line. Then the other interesting thing I would point out is the movie. The Battle of the Five Armies, the movie. When this battle kicks off, and this is before, I don't think Bilbo gets knocked out in the movie. He's there the whole time because there's like after Thorin and those guys come out, there's like a whole another hour of fighting. But in the book, the goblins have taken the high ground of the mountain, and they're pouring from that. Now, presumably, the mountain passes are kind of treacherous. They're kind of winding. You can't fit tons and tons of people on the side of a mountain, you know? So when 12 well-armed, really strong guys come out, they can make a lot of difference. They can knock them off some of the mountain passes. They can cut off the charge a little bit. And that's what Thorin and his company are able to do. That's at least how I imagined it. I don't know how you imagined it.
I just imagined that they were so ungodly Chad, and also combine that with the fact that no one expected them. They did their charge. They had a great effect, and also a controlled situation. So they were fighting from a better position, and yeah, you're not gonna stop Thorin when he's charging out of his gates, all majestic like.
In the movie, the gates open up onto a level field that extends for miles and miles.
How? It's a mountain, I thought.
And right, it's a mountain.
Okay.
So there's a level field that extends for miles and miles. CGI armies are arrayed on all sides, including an army of CGI elves. And you know how elves are supposed to look just human? And how no matter how good CG is, if you put a fully CG person next to an actual person on camera,
they look real, and
it's
can't
an
tell.
uncanny valley nightmare. Well, that's the elves, which is why the goblins were so intimidating.
They're too fair.
The
for
goblins
us.
the goblins are a little like I'll put it this way: the CG for the goblins, I don't like it, but I can understand where people think I'm too hard on it. The CG for the elves and for Dane, especially Dane, is a full CG character. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. That to me seems just lazy. Like I understand in Lord of the Rings they used CG to flesh out the armies to make them look bigger, like there were more people, but they didn't have them like sharp focus center frame the face of an elf screaming as he dies. Like that's in the movie. So the armies are clashing on this plain in front of the the Lonely Mountain, and Azog has this orc signaling system of flags and pulleys that is just conducting this like it's an RTS. He's just able to like micro his troops. He's stutter stepping. He's doing all the stuff, and so the goblins are just kicking ass. And then Thorin throws open the gates, right? Well, no, before Thorin throws open the gates, the guy who plays Dane, who is just comically Scottish, is like, "Where's Thorin? We need Thorin. Where's Thorin?" Like if 12 guys were in the middle of all this shit, everything would be fine.
That would save the day.
And then
told you Thorin's a Chad.
Finally Keely walks up to Thorin and he's like, "Yeah, if we don't go out there, he's
My
like, I'm going out
girlfriend's
there.
gonna die." Is he the one?
No, he's like, he doesn't even know she's there.
Oh.
And I don't even know if she is right now. Because they did this, like they went to Gundabad or oh no,
Angband.
Angband. I forget where they went, but they went on a side quest. I don't even know if they're there yet. So Keely's like, you know, I can't ever show my face in society again if we do not go out there. We look like absolute craven, like cowards right now. Like, and Thorin finally he shakes off his dragon madness and he's like, "Hell yeah, brother, let's do it." And they ready up.
Wait,
and
is
they,
that
they
what
just
it
throw
is?
open
It's
the
dragon
gates.
madness?
In the movie and the book to an extent, there is a hint that they're like treasure. I'm trying to remember if this is even part of like, this is even kind of part of like Fafnir's legend as well, where the treasure of Fafnir is it's bad luck. Dragon treasure that a dragon has sat on for some period of time is kind of cursed because dragons are like these creatures, at least in this Western mythology, dragons are these creatures of pure greed and they just covet more and more. And so when you covet a dragon's treasure and acquire it for yourself, you kind of acquire some of that dragon greed as well. And that's sort of what's happening to Thorin.
Okay.
In the movie, that's a way bigger deal. And in the movie, it's specifically his desire for the Arkenstone is like Frodo's desire for the ring. They really juxtapose that. Like cinematically, it's portrayed in a lot of the same ways and same shots. But
okay,
in the book,
so
it's a little bit more subtle.
Is dragon madness a thing, or did they make that up for the movie?
I would say there's hints. It's a much subtler theme in the book. I think it's there. I don't think it's necessarily a magical curse. I think it's just Thorin got greedy. Like dwarves are also supposed to be kind of susceptible to this, which is it gets fleshed out a little bit more in Lord of the Rings. So in initial drafts of Tolkien's mythology, the dwarves were not good guys. I've mentioned this several times. They were specifically evil creatures. He softened that a lot, but they are a different kind of being. They're not the children of Iluvatar. They're like they're adopted children of Iluvatar. So there are these kind of clockwork creatures that have an assigned task, and their assigned task is to acquire materials and build. Because like that's what the guy who made them, that's what he liked to do, and he made them in his image kind of. And so when a dwarf goes bad, that's what it looks like. They acquire too much. They create too much. They become obsessed.
Sounds like it's not his fault. Sounds like he's just following his programming and his creator is to blame.
It's kind of like a human's desire for power and status. Like we are social animals who travel in, large groups and compete for status. So when we go bad, we start lying, cheating, and stealing to do anything we can to trick other people into elevating us.
What?
But when a dwarf goes mad,
are you
they look
trying
more like
to tell me that billionaires and politicians lie and cheat to get elevated in their status and to get people to give them more money and attention. I can't believe you'd say that.
It's Morgoth's ring, man. He's a little piece of everything in the world. So the more of the world you acquire, the more Morgoth you got, the more evil you're going to be. It's just how it goes. That's the deep lore, though.
Yeah, it kind of sounds
not
like
ready for
the super god could just remove that Morgoth, but
he could, but his plans are ineffable, and his intelligence is far superior to ours.
yeah. Well, in that case, I'm not going to take any personal responsibility for any of the bad things I do. It's just all that Morgoth I got in me.
As long as you say you're sorry before you die, I think you're good.
Yeah, I think that is how that works.
Are you sorry?
Yeah, I'm definitely sorry. I don't even know. Do you have to mean that you're sorry, or?
I think you have to mean it.
Okay. Really sorry. God bless. Amen. Right?
I do think that's one of the things. I think you have to mean it.
Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. But I think that is a theme, like the dwarves are susceptible to dragon madness, that coveting a dragon's treasure does carry with it a kind of curse, but it's obviously not made that explicit in the book. I think it's just kind of a subtle thing. I think Tolkien does view Thorin as responsible for his actions, for sure. I don't think this is a case of like Frodo with the ring, where, spoilers, that task was impossible. Absolutely no one was ever going to be able to destroy that ring. This is not that. Thorin could have resisted this. He was just weak.
Yeah.
Though at the end, he did resist.
Whoa.
At the end, he
Whoa.
did
Hold on.
charge out.
Oh, okay, you're right. I was going to say at the end. That's next chapter.
At the
Ben.
end, no.
That's next chapter.
At the end, he comes out and he chooses people over gold and he charges out. That's the meaning of the end of this chapter.
Okay.
So I think that's where we got to end for this one.
Yeah.
The Gathering of the Clouds. So,
No, it's the clouds burst.
Or the cloud bursts.
Yeah, we already gathered the clouds. Now we're bursting them. Pow! Kaboom! Cock-a-doodle-doo!
I'm playing the music now.